contrary to this document.
Just a moment. How did we come by the doctrine of necessity then?
The doctrine of necessity is when there is a lacuna. There's no lacuna in
what
the emergence of the leadership of the House.
What I'm saying is that then negates your point that the Constitution envisages every single situation. Because the Constitution did not envisage that sort of situation, did we not come up with something to at least make sure that that lacuna was filled? My
Section 50 says the leadership of the House shall be elected from among themselves on the floor of the House, not in the party secretariat. There's no lacuna there. It's APC that is trying to create the problem. The Constitution is clear in Section 50 that the President of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives shall be elected from amongst the members,
Let me bring
not in the party secretariat.
The other point that they raised is about the Constitution.
Federal character.
Yes. They said, quote, "We stand on our earlier position that whilst we accept and agree with the principle of federal character, the constitutional provisions in that regard are strictly in reference to the appointment to the federal executive and its agencies. The principle of federal character is not intended to be given such elasticity to the extent that it would extend to the running and the internal workings of the House, which is not a government agency and whose members are not appointed but elected." And then they move on to section, let me move on to point 4. They spoke about Honorable Dogara in paragraph 7 of his own letter, quotes the provision of section 147 of the Constitution, which they say specifically requires the President in appointing ministers shall observe the federal character principle as provided in section 14. And so they were saying, well, he inadvertently makes their point saying it doesn't apply to the House.
No, that is a total misconception of the Constitution.
How?
Section 14.3, I will read it to you here, is the section relating to federal character. It says the composition of the government of the Federation, that is my word, mark my word, the composition of the government of the Federation will be done in such a way that it will reflect and carry along every section of the Nigerian society, each tribe, each zone. Composition of the government of the Federation. So the question you then ask me is, what is the government of the Federation? And the Constitution is very clear. Section 3.118. If you follow me to 3.118, the interpretation section of the Constitution tells us clearly what we mean by government of the Federation. Section 3.118 says government of the Federation and gives a prescription of what that means. Section 3.118. So a government of, when you talk about government, is somebody who is exercising power. It says government includes the government of the Federation or of any state or of a local government council or any person. This is the interpretation. Any person who exercises power or authority on his behalf. Any person who is exercising governmental power or governmental authority. Members of the House of Assembly, members of the National Assembly, the Speaker, the President, Minister, anybody exercising authority or function is a government. So in composing that government, you must reflect federal character. And it's applicable to judiciary, applicable to the executive, applicable to the legislature. Federal character principle cuts across every part of the government of the Federation of Nigeria.
So in other words, if for instance, we're looking at government as a word, can we say that the government must achieve balance on the whole? Not that, okay, in the National Assembly, there must be federal character there. In executive, federal character must be shown. In the judiciary, federal... Are we saying, can't the government say, we will balance things out holistically as a government?
Oh, yes, that's what I'm saying, Markwe.
So it's not exactly particular to the House of... also the House of Representatives.
Not at all, my sister. It cuts across the entire spectrum of governance.
Because what it would seem that, you know, the Dogara group is saying is that federal character must be represented in the National Assembly as well. That's one of the things they're asking for. They're asking for balance in terms of, you know, it being spread around the country. But they're saying, or the other party is saying, well, it doesn't exactly get here. And that federal character will be represented at the end of the day in this government, wouldn't it?
No. The point that they are making is this. Section 42 of the Constitution says, avoid discrimination. on the principle of geographical location, your faith, your sex, your gender, avoid discrimination. The Dogara group says, look, we already have a speaker who is from the Northeast. We have a deputy speaker who is from the Southwest. If we insist that you should bring the House leader from the Southwest and go ahead like that to distribute other offices, the Southeast will not be represented at all. And the Unity Forum says, we don't care. The House consists of 10 principal members, so it's a group. In those principal members, it doesn't matter where anybody comes from. And the people say, look, it won't work that way.
No, I think
but if that's the case, then women should be protesting, because on this list that we've
there's
seen,
no woman at all.
There's no woman at all for either of the sides, and that even the youth should be protesting.
Oh, yes.
If that's, you know, Mr. Adegboruwa, you do know that all sorts of things will come into this, if that is the case. And that, you know, in some cases, you've seen the argument also of the Dogara group in terms of what they're saying. A lot of people say that they did not consider zoning when the election of principal officers was being done. It's only after they have emerged that they're now beginning to talk about zoning. Do you really think that that's a fair arrangement?
Well, all that we concern ourselves with now is that the permutations of the party, whether in the Unity Forum group or Dogara group, must reflect constitutional requirements to ensure that there is a balance. Whether in the terms of the initial elections, it was not anticipated, but now that the election has come, it must be structured in a way that another side will not be ostracized or marginalized. And the point that they are raising is this, about ranking. They talked about Order 7, Rule 37 of the rules of the House, which says that only experienced members shall be entitled to hold principal offices. And that if that rule is properly implemented, there are only 2 persons from the Southeast, and the 2 of them are first-time members of the House who have no experience, and so they cannot aspire to be leaders. You know, and I also said you can't work by that. What is the meaning of All Progressive Congress? A party who has come to initiate new ideas, to depart from the areas that are held us down. PDP ruled this country with impunity. And that's why we say we are tired of Jonathan. So we brought APC to bring change. So you can't hold on to that same principle of PDP that has held us down over the years.
But that's a House rule.
No. That House rule now, you then interpret it with whether it is consistent with the Constitution. Because Section 42 says clearly, you will not discriminate. If Order 7, Rule 37 of the House rules gives the power to the House to structure itself in such a way that it will discriminate against a whole zone, then it must give way to the Constitution.
But does the Constitution also acknowledge the zones in the country?
No, the Constitution acknowledges the balances that everybody should be represented.
Everybody,
all
the
ethnic
states,
groups.
The states should be represented, but it's not talking about the zone. Well,
the states, the Constitution didn't come with zone. This zonal arrangement came with equipment during the political forum that they held.
Exactly.
But
so how then can federal character apply if the Constitution doesn't then recognize zones?
No, federal character applies in the states.
Federal character applies in this particular matter in the leadership of the National Assembly. How come then the federal character applies?
No, it applies because when you talk about application of the federal character to reflect all zones, all areas.
Zones that the Constitution doesn't recognize?
No, the states. I'm talking about the states.
But all states cannot be represented within 10 principal members, can it?
All states.
Yes, there are 36 states of the Federation. Yes. We're talking about 10 principal members of the National Assembly. How then can states be represented?
No, the point that we are making is this. If we look at states constituting the Southwest, you must pick one of them.
But that
if you pick states
the Constitution doesn't say that. Where did we get that from? It's not in the Constitution.
Federal character.
Federal character doesn't stipulate zones, does it?
No, you say you must not do it in such a way that the dominance of the offices will be concentrated in a particular region. This is what Section 14.3 says, the composition of the government of the Federation or any of its agencies and the conduct of its affairs shall be carried out in such a manner as to reflect federal character of Nigeria. And they need to promote national unity and also to command national loyalty, thereby ensuring that there shall be no predominance of persons from a few states or from a few ethnic groups or other sectional groups. So when you are constituting the leadership and you discover that within the Southwest, there are already 2 people, or within the Yoruba-speaking areas, there's somebody from Ogun State, there's somebody from Lagos State, you then be careful. Because that's what the Constitution is trying to avoid. Don't concentrate them within a particular section. That's the area where otherwise it should have been possible to have the president from the northeast, have the vice president from the northwest, have the chief justice from the north central, and put everybody. But the constitution says, no, go to the east and take somebody from the Igbo speaking area. Go to the southwest and take somebody from the Yoruba speaking area. And the Dogara people are saying, look, in the way that this thing is considered already, we have gotten people from the southwest, we have gotten people from the Yoruba area, from the outside area. Let's take from the Igbo part.
Some people do not agree with you.
You know, it's not whether you agree, it's what the constitution says, Mark. It's not whether you agree.
You say from a few states. How does Osun and Lagos State all of a sudden become a few states, or, you know, is getting too heavily tilted towards the southwest?
Those of us who are here, for instance, in this interview, by the time we want to apply federal character, we will ask which state you are from. If you are from Ogun State, I'm from Ogun State, and Nelta is from Ogun State, it will be clear that concentration of the interview is not already predominant in Ogun State, which violates federal character. It's as simple as that, sir.
So what you suggest is the way out for this now?
What I suggest is the way out is this. We have given a platform to APC to say, take us forward. We want a departure from the past. So the party should go back home and talk to its members. Accept the election that has held. It's a bitter pill, swallow it, and move Nigeria forward. Allow the committees to be constituted. Let these officers reflect within the various ethnic groups represented in Nigeria in compliance with Section 14.3. And then let the House constitute its committees, let the Senate constitute its committees. There are several bills waiting to be considered.
Mr. Adegboruwa, just a moment. I know that is the last question, but they said, the APC has said, in the House of Representatives, they have accepted the elections. They are moving forward, and they're saying, moving forward, these are the principal officers that we want from our party. Is there anything wrong with what they've said?
Not officially to impose it on the National Assembly. It would discuss it in.
So what was wrong was sending the letter?
And insisting that the Speaker should implement it on the floor of the National Assembly.
And if he refuses? Then
they should allow the House members to determine their leadership.
And secondly,
that's the solution.
This other matter came up. If the Speaker says that he had a court, that he had been served court papers about a matter being in court, some lawyers think or thought that, no, it's gimmickry. Others thought you should have gone ahead and read the letter, because no law, no court can stop the House from their legislative function. Should the Speaker have gone ahead and read the letter and not citing the court's papers or that he has been served by the courts?
It is ideal in a democratic setting for the three organs of government to maintain some level of independence, that the judiciary will not deliberately try to frustrate the work of the legislature. But I cannot sit here to say no court can stop the National Assembly. If the National Assembly is working against the Constitution, it's the duty of the judiciary to check it and put it in order. So if indeed there was a case pending in respect of that letter, the Speaker could not have announced it, if there is a case in court.
All right, thank you, Adegboruwa, a legal practitioner, giving his interpretation about the legal perspectives with the House of Representatives. Thank you for coming on again today.
I thank you. As Limokwe has said, power is improving. Let road
I did not say that. I'm asking. I did not say that, Mr. Adegboruwa. Do not put words in my mouth, please.